Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea. This is the show where all we do is take live, open questions. A bunch of friends standing around a virtual water cooler talking about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, stuff like that. For those of you who are regulars around here, you might notice, hey, wait a sec, what's Open Mic doing in the morning? In case you didn't catch it, the last number of days I've been announcing to you guys that we're going to be trying switching things up. Here's why we're switching things up. This is why we're doing Open Mic in the mornings and now the John Campea Show in the afternoon. Now, the John Campea Show is the one where we talk about all the movie news, right? That's where we talk about all the movie news. But here's the thing. It's always frustrated me. The thing about doing my movie news shows in the mornings, and this is going back for years, the one thing that's always frustrated me is that I'm doing this movie news show about yesterday's movie news instead of today's movie news. So I wanted to talk about today's movie news. So that's why I have pushed the John Campea Show to the afternoon. So that way, when the John Campea Show is on, we are actually talking about fresh news, stuff that is just happening in the world of movie news instead of the stuff that happened yesterday. Now, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I thought we'd try it out for the week. I asked you guys on YouTube, what did you think? Overwhelmingly, you guys said, yeah, give it a shot. So that's what we're doing. Open mic here in the mornings, the John Campea Show with up-to-date, breaking, relevant movie news in the afternoon. So we'll see how all that goes. Anyway, but today, it's all taking stuff from you guys. So we already got a bunch of you guys sending in questions. So let's bring it up right now. Let's get things going with this. And the first submitted question today comes to us from Mason Barr, who writes, hey, John, how was your weekend? Mine was great. I had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for asking. I saw Molly's Game and Darkest Hour. So glad I did. Wish I saw them in theaters. Both definitely in my top 3 for 2017. Logan, number 1, obviously. Yeah, I completely agree. First of all, Molly's Game was, I knew I would be inclined to like Molly's Game because it's based on poker. And it's a true I really dig true stories. I'm a big fan of poker, obviously. So I knew it would I'd be inclined to like it, but I loved it. Aaron Sorkin, I believe, was the first film he ever directed. And, of course, he wrote the script. I thought the script was great. The directing was great. The performances were fantastic. With Jessica Chastain and Idris Elba, of course they would be. It might have been my second favorite film of the year. Besides Logan. Logan was obviously the best movie of the year. But, Molly's Game was fantastic. And as far as Darkest Hour goes, of course, Gary Oldman, the film that finally got Gary Oldman over that line. He is now an Academy Award winning actor. Because for the longest time, he was just the presumptive, absolutely, it was pretty much acknowledged worldwide. Gary Oldman, best actor in the world without an Oscar. That's what a lot of people felt. And now he's got that thing on his mantle. Now I believe that title of best actor without an Oscar goes to Ralph Fiennes. I personally think he's clearly the best actor in the world right now without an Oscar on his mantle. But yeah, those two films are just fabulous. And I'm glad you had a chance to catch them, man, because they are fantastic movies. All right, next one comes to us from Josh Crichton, who writes, John, I think every sci-fi fan needs a meme of this. A conversation between Marvin and C-3PO, if you're talking about Marvin the Martian, where Marvin starts off by saying, don't ask me about life. There is a lot of really cool things you could do with that scenario. That would be really cool. I'm actually tempted to put together a little graphic of Marvin and C-3PO and just putting it out and say, caption this, because you're right, Josh. I think you could do a lot of really fun, cool things with that caption. That could be really cool. That's a great idea. Kevin Bennett writes, what does it mean to be a classically trained actor? It seems to be more of a British than American thing. Why the difference? Look, I'm not an actor per se, but I remember hearing people talking, classically trained, I think, and there's those of you guys who are watching this that are actors, you can address this better than I could. But from what I understand, classically trained actors study the methods and the techniques of there's a couple of European actors in particular who they really focus on. And it's about utilizing the body. It's about exercises. It's about all this kind of stuff. Method acted really is more internal, stuff like that. You know what? There's a video on YouTube that I remember I saw a long time ago, but it's Christopher Plummer. And it's this little video where he kind of very anecdotally talks about the difference between classical and method acting. And that might be the best place to go. Because again, I am not an actor, so I'm not the best person to address it. Classically trained, it's I mean, it's the words itself kind of describe what it is. But if you really want to know a little bit of difference, look up that one video by Christopher Plummer online. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Josh Crichton writes, would Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy work better today as a TV series or a movie remake? So long and thanks for all the fish. I think it works better as a movie. I do. I'm not a part of this modern trend of thinking everything would work better as a TV show, because really, no, it wouldn't. And look, in a lot of ways, here's the thing. It always comes down to the difference between TV and movies, right? Personally, I much prefer movies to TV. There's a lot of TV I love, obviously. I love TV, but I prefer movies to TV. And they are two different skill sets in making TV shows and making movies. Because, for instance, I just watched Lost in Space, and my review for Lost in Space, the Netflix series, is up on my channel right now. You can just go look under reviews and you'll find the Lost in Space review there. I had to invest 8, or how many episodes was it? 10? No, was it 10? It was 10. I had to invest 10 hours to get that story. And it's not great. It's pretty good. It's worth watching. If people ask me, should I bother watching Lost in Space? I'll say yes. Check it out. It's not great though, so check your expectations. But I had to invest 10 hours into that. Whereas, Molly's Game, far superior to the Lost in Space series, I had to invest 2 hours into that. I mean, there's different arts and different techniques and different things you have to do to make a television series versus making a movie. In a movie, you've got 2, at the most, normally 2.5 hours to introduce, set up your beginning, middle, and end, get your characters developed, get invested in them, resolve the plot, all that kind of stuff. You got 2 hours to do it. Go. And it takes an incredible set of gifts and skills to be able to do that. As opposed to, say, a television show where, you can go into a television show and watch 3 or 4 episodes in a row that are just a waste, but there's 18 more episodes, and, watch it, blah, blah, blah. And there's great television. And sometimes that longer drawn out format is the better format for a particular story. Absolutely. But because there's some really good television being made right now, there seems to be this semi-popular way of thinking going around of, oh, this would work better as a TV show. It's no, quite often it wouldn't. Quite often a single story is the best way to go. And personally, for me, I think A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy works better as a one-shot story. But there are different people who probably have deeper appreciations for a deeper appreciation just for the story itself of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that would probably would like it a longer drawn-out thing. I think it would just be wasted hours, to be honest with you. But that's just my opinion. Okay, next one comes to us from Dakota Barber, who writes, take plenty of pictures at the Infinity War premiere to show us. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I'm going to the Infinity War world premiere on Monday. And what I'm going to do is I am going to live stream some stuff, little 5-minute live streams here and there leading up to me going into the theater, when Ann and I actually go into the theater. Because I can't bring my cell phone into the theater. They make me check it at the door. They make people check their cell phones at the door when they go into the theater. Understandably so. But what I did at the last world premiere I went to, which was just a little while ago at Black Panther, I did a little live streaming from the car going down. And then when Anna and I actually got there, I did some live streaming so you guys could see the red carpet. You could see because when Disney does these world premieres for their big films, they go all out. They decorate the streets and they do all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to be doing some live streaming from there. Make sure you're near your computer on the 23rd. That's a week from today on Monday in the evening, because I'm going to be doing some live streaming. But yes, I'll also be taking tons of pictures and sharing with you guys as much of the experience that I absolutely can. Okay. Caleb writes, trivia question. Which actor or actress has made the most money at the box office for their respected movies? The answer to that question is Samuel Jackson is the highest grossing actor of all time. Harrison Ford passed him for a short bit, but then Samuel Jackson took it back. And the highest grossing actress of all time is actually Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson has appeared, it's a little bit of a misnomer to say what they made for their movies. It's really, how much money has the movies that this actor appeared and made. And Scarlett Johansson's, I think, is over $3 billion. And Samuel Jackson is now over 5 billion, and the number 2 actor is like Harrison Ford, and his films collective made like over 4 billion. But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is the highest grossing actor of all time, because he's also appeared in like 5,000 films. And Scarlett Johansson is actually the highest grossing actress of all time. Good trivia question, though. Okay, Curtis Lopez writes, a promo pic of Solo shows Emilia Clarke holding the dice from the Falcon. I think she dies and Han keeps the dice as memory of her. Well, it's possible, but also remember this. I could be mistaken about this, but I believe in the shots we see in the trailer of when he's driving the speeder, I believe some people point out that the dice are hanging in the speeder as well. Could be that that's Emilia Clarke's speeder, but it could be that that's Han's speeder. So she might hold on to them at some point, but they might already be his. Then again, they could be hers. She could die. He keeps them as memory of hers, blah, blah, blah. If that's the case, though, that makes it pretty messed up that the final last little heirloom that Luke gives to Leia to remember Han by is these dice that another woman gave Han. That makes that scene a little bit messed up, right? It's like, hey, Anne, like somebody going up to Anne and saying, hey, just thought I'd give you a pair of John's ex-girlfriend's panties so you can remember John by. I mean, that's a bad idea. That's a bad idea. So, yeah, if those are Emilia's dice and Han holds on to those as an emotional memento of her, it's pretty messed up that Luke would take those dice and give them to Leia as something to remember Han by. That would be kind of messed up. I'm not going to put it by them. It may very well be how it happens. But it will make me look at that scene with Luke and Leia at the end of The Last Jedi a little bit differently, going, Luke, that's messed up. That's seriously messed up, Luke. Anyway, but something for us to think about. Okay, Amin writes, what exactly did you do / work on for Spy Kids 2? Well, there was one main scene in Spy Kids 2 that we worked on. And that scene, the company I was with, there was really small. There was like 4 of us. But the company I was with, the scene that our company was responsible for was, there's a scene with Steve Buscemi. And they're in a cave with the kids. He's got this big wicker basket kind of thing. He takes the lid off the basket and pours out the basket onto this table stone. And all these hybrid animals come pouring, little miniature hybrid animals, like mix of 2 animals, right? But little tiny ones. And then they start walking around. That was the main shot from that movie that we worked on. And it was, remember for a long time, we had this company reel. A reel is like a little collage of footage that you've worked on that you use to try to sell, your services. And remember, that was one of the highlights of our reel for a long time. And our president, who was also the main animator, he was like the owner, main animator, and all that kind of stuff. He would put these reels together, and that was like the highlight of the reel, was that one shot for a while. So that was the main thing that we did, and that took a long time. To that one shot took forever. Curtis, oops, where did I go here? Where do we go? Curtis Lopez. Oh, no. Yes, Curtis Lopez writes, did you see the Star Wars holiday special when it was first shown on TV? I don't think I did. No, I mean, I was really young, but no. So I don't remember seeing it on TV at the time when it first aired, so I don't think I did. Let's see. Hans Gruber writes, have you seen The Defiant Ones? A really good documentary about Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. Binged all 4 episodes at once. Bono is in it and a lot of it. No, I haven't. And I'll be honest with you, look, now that you mention it, it sounds familiar, but I can't even definitively say I've heard about it. I was about to say I've never even heard of it, but there's something in the back of my head, maybe I have heard of it. But anyway, no, I have not watched it, but that sounds fascinating, especially knowing Bono's in it, and U2's my all-time favorite band. So now I'm going to have to put that on my radar. Do me a favor, jump into just the regular comment section or send me an email or something. Let me know where it's available. Is it a Netflix thing? Is it an Amazon Prime thing? Let me know. I'd love to find out where that is. Let's see here. Daniel Briggs writes, how do you think you die in a quiet place? Oh, yeah, I would die. I would absolutely die in a quiet place. But how would I die? Probably, oh gosh, probably from really loudly moaning. If I hear one more the next time I heard one person sign language to me that they think there's comic book movie fatigue. The next time I heard somebody say that, I just probably say it out loud and then boom, I'd be dead. I think there's comic book movie fatigue. I've been hearing people say that for the last 10 years, every single year. Now there's comic movie fatigue. People are getting tired of comic book movies. And every year, billions and billions and billions of dollars. Yep, tons of comic book movie fatigue. Crazy. Can't exist another few months. So maybe probably hearing one more person say that. Or one more person mention Iron Spider. That, and I'd audibly out loud moan and groan. And then, boom, there goes my head. I'd be totally dead. Let's see. KW Garrett 83 writes, for fun, you should get a map of the world and stick pins in every country you receive queries from. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. Every continent would be represented except Antarctica. Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten one from Antarctica, but I can definitively say I know I've gotten questions from every continent. But I love that idea. I mean, it sounds like it would be a lot of work, so I don't know that I'll do it. But it does sound like a really cool idea if over my shoulder, or if I had off screen this map and I could roll it in and say, all right, this one came to us from Argentina. And I can stick a pin in Argentina, say now Argentina's been covered. That's actually a pretty cool idea. I'll never do it because it sounds like way too much work. But it is a really cool idea. Bomb Squad writes, saw on Box Office Pro that Infinity War has passed Last Jedi's pre-sales and is approaching The Force Awakens. Is this true? If so, what does this do to your prediction? Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit more on the John Campea show later today. The basic idea, though, is right now is that the final projections have come in. And they're projecting Avengers Infinity War to make anywhere between $235 million and $255 million. 235 to 255 is the range you're saying it's going to come in at. That means it's a coin toss because the Force Awakens record is 247. So the range that we're seeing right now in the projections for Infinity War are suggesting it's a coin toss right now. Could come in under, could come in over. It's getting close. Look, when they did the 8-week projection and they said right now the earliest projections are around 230, we knew it would go up from there. But I said at the time, if you were watching the show, I said at 230, even with projections at 230, remember there's roughly a 10% give or take. Like the projections are usually very, very close. People like say projections are never right, and they point to 3 instances when they aren't, when really 99% of the time they're very, very close. But you give about 10% give, right? So if it's projected at 50, could make 55, But when the earliest projections came in at 230, for you guys who watched this episode, I said, well, at 230, even if that's bang on, give it 10% give or take. That means you could add, even if it's within 10% accurate, that means it could theoretically add another $23 million, which would make it 256, which would take it over The Force Awakens. So what I said a number of weeks ago was that, look, it is more possible now than ever before that Disney might beat Disney. I mean, right now that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Disney competing against Disney. It's Disney wins either way. But Disney's The Force Awakens it looked untouchable. Well, not untouchable. It looked incredibly difficult to beat. And it is incredibly difficult to beat. And I thought Avengers Infinity War would become the number 2 all-time opening weekend. But it could. Like that's what I said a number of weeks ago. I said, once that 230 number came out, I said, you know what? All bets are off. It's possible. It is possible that Infinity War can pass it. Now, the Infinity War still hasn't pre-sold as many tickets as The Force Awakens and all that kind of stuff. But, that's not the be-all and end-all. That could change like that. So it's possible. I mean, it's totally possible. Right now, it's a coin toss. With that range of 235 to 255, it is a literal coin toss about whether or not it'll beat the record. Now, The Force Awakens, with inflation, its record is actually 257 million, but I say never count inflation, so I'm not about to change that now. So 247 is the number. That's the number it's got to beat, and it's possible. It is possible. But like I said, we'll talk about that more on the John Campea show a little bit later today. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, Do you think Gronk will consider not playing football anymore if he is received well by fans and some critics in his upcoming movie with Mel Gibson? That won't have anything to do with it. I think he's considering getting out because he has taken a beating the last couple of years. How many times has he been sidelined with injuries and concussions? And like this past season, he took a wicked concussion. He's big. He's health. I mean, still, he's got his health right now. He's made a whole ton of money. If he walks, I think it's going to be because of that. I mean, the injuries are just piling up with him. And does he want to keep playing until he can't walk anymore? And so I think if he decides to leave, that will be the reason he decides to leave. I think he's dipping his toe in acting, not to decide whether or not he wants to act or play football. I think he's dipping his toe in acting to see if he's got something beyond football. But I think if he decides not to play, it'll be because, hey, I've done this long enough. I've taken a beating, concussions and broken bones all over my body and all that kind of stuff. And he has taken a lot of punishment. I think that'll be why he retires. Bomb Squad writes, MCU movies have had more walk-up ticket sales, while Star Wars movies have had more pre-sales. This combined with Infinity War, massive ticket sales, it'll be huge. Well, I mean, yes, it'll be huge. There's nothing definitive that says Marvel movies have had more walk-up ticket sales. No Marvel movie has come anywhere near The Force Awakens. No Marvel movies ever come anywhere near The Force Awakens. Like the closest, let me just bring up here for a second, the all-time box office things, okay? Worldwide all-time box office. So you got Star Wars The Force Awakens at $2 billion. The next closest Marvel film, right now, this is about to change with Infinity War, but right now, the next closest Marvel film is Marvel's The Avengers at more than $500 million less. Don't tell me Marvel has more walk-up sales than The Force Awakens did, because it doesn't. It just doesn't. Like I said, when the next closest is Marvel's The Avengers at over $500 million less, you can't say that. You can't say that. But make no mistake about it, Infinity War is going to be massive. It's going to be huge. It is the first film ever in the last 3 years that we can say has a remote chance of catching that opening weekend box office record, and it very well could do it. But we'll have to wait and see. And then its overall box office is all going to be about how good the movie is. Is the movie decent? Is the movie great? That will have a lot to do with whether it crosses the $2 billion mark. Because if it's great, it could cross the $2 billion mark. If it's good, then I think it'll beat the first Avengers movie, but it won't join the $2 billion club. But if it's great, this movie can join the $2 billion club. It really can. Okay, let's see what's next. Mr. Luis writes, over under 40%, we get a Green Lantern movie within 5 years. I'm going to take the under on that. I mean, but John, they just said last year they have plans. Yeah, but they said they have had plans for 87 movies. It's coming. I think we're going to get another Green Lantern movie. Within 5 years? I don't know. That means it would have to be announced in production within 3. And I don't know that I see that happening right now. I don't see if I see that happening. So within 5, I'll take the under on 40. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's like 5% chance. It's definitely more than that. But I'll take the under on 40 just by a little bit. Courtney Haynes writes, roughly, where would Batman vs. Superman rank in the MCU? Okay. I like Batman vs. Superman more than Iron Man 2. I like it more than Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It would definitely be lower. It would definitely be on the lower end of the scale, but it wouldn't be at the bottom. You know what I mean? There are a few MCU films that I think Batman vs. Superman is better than, but it would probably rank lower on the scale. Let's see. Big Four, Damn, and Alfie Gamer writes, hey, John, new Patreon supporter here. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I watched The Big Sick. Oh, good for you, man. I love that movie. I watched The Big Sick last night with my wife. My word, man, got me choked up and laughing all at the same time. I was stunned. How much I loved that movie. And I mean, Kumail Nanjiani is just brilliant. He's brilliant. I mean, and I just love that movie. And you're right. It gets you choked up and laughing hysterically at the same time. It's a beautifully told story. Wonderfully performed. I loved his family in the movie. Ray Romano was amazing. How great was Holly Hunter? Holly Hunter was so good in that movie. It felt authentic. It felt real. It felt hilarious. If you guys haven't seen The Big Sick yet, it's on Amazon. Check it out. I mean, it's worth being an Amazon Prime member just so you can watch The Big Sick. It's absolutely brilliant and fantastic. Check it out if you get a chance, because I think you're really going to adore it. And Big Fordham, I'm really glad you had a chance to see it. I'm actually really envious you had a chance to watch it with your wife. I watched it when Anne was out of town. So I would have loved to have sat down and watched it with her, but I didn't have a chance. So I'm kind of envious that you had a chance to watch that. But watch The Big Sick. So funny. So funny. The one line. Well, I won't tell you what the setup to it is. I'll just say the punchline. So if you haven't seen the movie, this won't spoil anything. But for those of you who've seen the movie, you know what I'm going to say. The line that had me like seriously gasping for air, I was laughing so hard, was when Kumail says, "Yeah, we lost 11 of our best guys." I was like, at one moment, I'm like, did he just say that? And I just started dying laughing. I mean, it was just, oh my God, it was so funny. And that's just kind of symbolic of the style of humor and the effectiveness and the punching power of the humor throughout the film, while also being really heartwarming. And it's a true story, and I'm a sucker for true stories, right? So yeah, Big Sick, man. I'm so glad you watched that, and thank you for bringing it up. Raymond Verata writes, Godspeed R. Lee Ermey. That's right. Thank you, Gunny Hartman from Full Metal Jacket. Will he get full military honors? His wife is Filipina too. I didn't realize that. Yeah, really sad note. Like the ultimate. I mean, look, it felt like for my entire lifetime, if you had a character that you wanted to be a badass military leader type of guy, this is the guy you went to. This was the guy you went and got. He was the embodiment of it. And he passed away. It's going to be mentioned a little bit later today on the John Campea show for sure. It's going to be part of our movie news feed later. But yeah, I was really sad to hear about it. He was young, 74. He was a young dude. And what a loss. What a loss, man. He was the best at what he did. Playing that type of a role, no one's ever been better. He was the best at what he did, and it's really a shame, man. The number Thor writes, what will we get first? Or what will we get first? Iron Man 4, Cap 4, or Thor 4? Ooh, yeah. I'm going to let you guys know. This is a good chance for me to plug this. A little bit later this afternoon, I've got my odds video going up. I've got a special editorial coming later today that's going through 25 characters in Infinity War and giving you the odds on what are the odds of each one of them dying. And I'm going to go through them one by one. We're going to be talking about Captain America. We're going to be talking all the way from Captain America and Iron Man, all the way down to Mantis, all the way to Loki, Heimdall, Star-Lord, Gamora, Black Panther, Okoye. Like, we're going to be talking about 25 characters in Infinity War and the odds of each one of them dying. That comes a little bit later today. I'm really excited because I'm going to be really curious to see what you guys say on it. So anyway, which one do I think was the most likely to get? I think the most likely, I would have said before Thor Ragnarok, I would have said Captain America 4. That's what I would have said. I still think we're going to get a Captain America 4 with Chris Evans, by the way. I still think that's going to happen sometime. But with the success of Thor Ragnarok and kind of this new direction they took with the character and how great the Taika Waititi performances as the director was and how much Chris Hemsworth just embraced and loved that character and how much of a different element and a different dimension that movie brought to the MCU, I've got a feeling that they're looking more seriously at a Thor 4 right now. And I'll take Thor 4. That'll be my guess right now. It's Mo writes, Would a DC and Marvel animated movie work? I doubt it. I don't think most of either Marvel or DC's animated stuff works as alone, let alone putting them together, so I don't think so. Joshua Stevens writes, when you said yesterday, where the F is Chewie's medal at? I about fell out of my seat. My day was made after that. Yeah, and you know what's funny? A lot of people have written to me since we talked about that yesterday on Star Wars Talk. We said, joking aside, because we always joke about it, joking aside, why didn't Chewie get that medal? Like, joking aside, because we joke about it all the time, but that aside, why really didn't? And we talked about some of that stuff. Since then, I've had a lot of people say, John, in this comic he got the medal, or John, in that book he got the... Those aren't the movies. We've seen that a million times. Doesn't care what they say. In the books, Chewie also got killed by being hit by a moon. So forget that. I don't care what it says in the comic books. I don't care what it says in the novels. The movie didn't have him get a medal. And, well, Chewie was too tall for Leia to put the medal on. Guess what? Lean over. That's what they do in the Olympics. In the Olympics, they've got the winners standing up on podiums, so they're towering over the medal presenter. So what they do is they lean down. They lean down, they put the medal on them. So don't give me this, Chewie was too tall. He got his medal in the green room afterwards. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Anyway. But yeah, that's a big, serious question I've always had about Star Wars. Where the fuck is Chewie's medal? Okay. Hudson Smith writes, John, if 8 babies weren't killed in the beginning of Star Wars 9, the movie won't have any stakes. Just kidding, man. Love what you do. Yeah. That was something we joked about the other day, too. Is like this whole notion, I can't remember what exactly brought it up, but the whole notion of everything's got to be dark. There's just some people out there who think darker is better. It's like, unless 9 babies die at the beginning of a movie, it doesn't have any stakes and it won't feel gritty. It's like, it's just nonsense. Thor Ragnarok shows that that's complete bullshit. I mean, it can work, but it can also work other ways too. So that's what we were kind of talking about the other day at the same time. Thank you for reminding me of that, Hudson. Jordan Boo writes, better remake. The Blob in 88 or The Thing in 82. Oh, The Thing, clearly. Yeah, Blob in 88 was not bad, but there are a lot of people who don't even like that. I think The Thing in 82 was the better remake. And actually, 82's The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, is one of the several movies I often use when people say remakes are never a good idea. Oh, yeah? Did you like John Carpenter's The Thing? Yeah, it's great. It's a remake. Do you like Scarface? Yeah, it's a remake. Do you like Jeff Goldblum's The Fly? Yeah, it's a remake. Like, it's just, so that's one of those, so I'll definitely go The Thing. That, for me, personally. Maybe some of you guys like The Blob a lot more than I do, but I think The Thing was the better one. Jack Spittle writes, have you seen the trailer for Terminal with Margot Robbie? Thoughts? Yeah, it's difficult for me. It's one of those trailers that it's difficult for me to really get a handle on it, to get a handle on the project. I mean, look, this movie is already in my good books because Mike Myers is in it. I'm on board. Margot Robbie is fantastic. By the way, if you didn't see I, Tonya last year, speaking of great movies from last year that maybe you didn't see, make sure you watch I, Tonya. Like, everybody knows Margot Robbie is one of the hottest women in the world, but not a lot of people realize just how good of an actress she is. She's world class. Watch I, Tonya. She was just fabulous in I, Tonya. I didn't think she should win the Academy Award last year, but totally deserved that nomination. But again, the preview stuff I've seen for Terminal makes it, I'm not really sure what I'm going to get with it. You know what I mean? So it hasn't gotten me any more excited about it. It hasn't turned me off either. So I'm just going to have to wait and see how that all pans out. Hudson Smith writes, just watch CPR episode of The Office. Oh my God. Yeah. Dude, you know what? I could literally do a show every day just talking about each episode of The Office. There's so many great episodes. There's that one. There's the Michael falling into the koi pond one. There's the dinner. That's Anne's favorite episode, is the dinner party. The dinner party is Anne's absolute favorite episode. It's a 13-inch plasma. Anyway, oh gosh. I'm not sorry. I'm getting distracted because I'm just thinking about all these different Office episodes. The Office is one of those shows where seriously, when I've got like 35 minutes to kill, I'm going to make myself a snack. I'm going to sit down in front of my TV for 30 minutes. I can open up Hulu or Netflix, whichever. Put on The Office. Don't even look to see which episode. Just go click, 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 click. Don't even see which episode I land on and hit play. And I can just be entertained no matter what episode I land on. That and Parks and Rec. Those are the two shows I can do that with. Where I'll just play blind roulette with them. Like I'll just load up Parks and Rec and go click, 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 click. Don't even know what season I'm on. Don't even know what episode I'm on and play. And I know no matter what episode it is, I'm going to laugh and I'm going to have a good time and I'm going to smile. The Office and Parks and Rec is that show for me that I can do that. The shows for me that I can do that with. Hey, John from Sea Spice writes, hey, John, have you seen The Expanse? Thoughts? Nope, haven't watched it. And a couple of people have been recommending that I check it out. I'll be honest with you, didn't look interesting to me. Does not look interesting to me. But that I've seen other things that did not look interesting to me, and they ended up being bloody brilliant. Like absolutely brilliant. So I have not checked it out yet, but that might become one of the next things that I binge. It'll be coming up on things that I decide to binge. Let's see. Stephen Mattern writes, you stated earlier that you want to review God of War. Well, I know I'm not going to review it. Oh, the game. Sorry, I thought we were talking about my movie, Prince of Peace, God of War. But no, God of War. Be careful. The editing may be choppy. The whole game is loaded at once and is a seamless single shot. Fascinating. Enjoy. My copy is here on launch. Yeah, I am actually, look, I don't have a PS4. I've got an Xbox One. And I generally do not play console games. Generally speaking, I like to play my games on my PC. I am reading such amazing reviews, game reviews of God of War. I am considering grabbing a PS4 just to play it. I'm considering that. I would have to get Anne's permission to run out and buy a PS4, but I am actually considering doing that because I am just reading just ridiculously good reviews. Like some game review outlets are like reporting it as the highest reviewed game they've ever done, which to me is interesting and fascinating. So it's caught my attention. It's definitely caught my attention. All right, let's keep going here. We just got a few minutes left here. Jack Spittle writes, what did you think of Professor Pig in Gotham? There were elements of the pig that I thought were really cool. The pig behind the mask was really cool. I found he lost some of his effectiveness as a character to me when the mask came off. And you actually got to know the human character behind the mask. I became less enamored with it. But I'll tell you what, the pig in Gotham was really reminiscent of some of the great, serial killer mystery movies of the 80s and 90s. Like on Along Came a Spider or something like that, right? It played like a great movie serial killer that the cop or the FBI agent has worked for 5 years to try to track down and get, you know what I mean? And it played great that way. Lost some of his mystique when the mask came off, but before that I really quite enjoyed the character. All right, the number Thor. Where'd he go? Where'd number Thor go? Number Thor writes, do you think that it will be Rey that kills Kylo? We've seen from The Last Jedi that she sees good in him and is trying to change him, so I don't think she will kill him. I think it will be somebody unexpected like Finn or Poe. No, I think it's going to be her. And I think she has now come to the place, I believe that the conclusion of The Last Jedi has brought Rey to a place now where she also understands what Luke came to understand and what Leia came to understand. Kylo's gone. Ben is gone. Ben Solo is gone. All that is left now is Kylo Ren. And I think, that little bit of hope she had that he could be turned, that belief she had, that's gone. Leia, they even made sure Leia said, yeah, I know my son's gone. Luke said, I ain't here to save Kylo. Like, they all pretty much have now acknowledged to make sure the audience understands this character is now beyond redemption. So, yes, I do. And I do think he's going to die. I think it would be pretty damn anticlimactic to have Kylo die at the hands of anybody else. Finn, Poe, wouldn't feel right. The only other way it would feel maybe more dramatic and better is if Leia kills him. If Leia kills him, there would be some major dramatic impact. Now, of course, that would necessitate Lucasfilm recasting Leia and doing that, which is something I hope they do, but I don't think they're going to. But other than Rey killing him, I think the only other way it won't feel like a massive bait and switch is if Leia kills him. If Poe or Finn kill him, it's going to feel bad. It's going to feel undermined. It won't feel right to me. An interesting thought, though, man. Good observation. DG just sends a super chat. Thank you so much, DG. Joshua Stevens writes, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, best Star Wars lightsaber fight, best part of that terrible movie. If you're talking about the Phantom Menace with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, I agree. You know, we've been talking about this last couple of days. You know, I've always said it's important as a film fan, I believe, to, with the movies that you love, acknowledge the things that don't work with it. Even if they're movies that you totally love, acknowledge the things about it that you don't necessarily think were great. Because only then can you truly say you love that. It's only when you can embrace everything about a movie, including its flaws, that you can truly say you love it. But on the opposite side as well, the movies that you hate, be willing to acknowledge the things it does well. I hate the prequels, but guess what? That Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul fight, awesome. Pod race scene, awesome. Even going into what I think even prequel appreciators will acknowledge is the worst film of the series was Episode 2, I was going to say Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones. Look at that movie. Horrible movie. But I could watch that Yoda Dooku fight forever. But I agree with you, man. That Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fight, to me, that's the best thing in all the prequels. I think that's the best thing in all the prequels. Jack Spittle writes, John, you are not alone. I liked Burt Wonderstone. Yeah, I was talking about that a number of weeks ago. The Steve Carell, Steve Buscemi, Jim Carrey movie, the incredible Burt Wonderstone. Is it as good as it could have been? No. Does it have its faults? Absolutely. But I had a lot of laughs in that movie. And I thought Jim Carrey was awesome. I thought Jim Carrey was awesome in that movie. And I don't know why. I think the part of the movie that I laughed the hardest, for those of you who've seen it, I think the part of that movie that I laughed the hardest wasn't even that funny, but just for me, as somebody who goes to Vegas like 10 times a year, I just about laughed myself sick. When he goes to the girl's apartment, right, and they have dinner, and he goes, I'll take care of the dishes. And he just picks up the dishes and opens her apartment door and sets the dishes down outside and closes the door. Because in Vegas, that's what you do. When you're in the hotel room, once you're done with the dishes, you just put it out in the hallway because the staff will come and clear it away. But he's at her apartment and he does that. Not that funny, but for whatever reason, I laughed myself stupid. I like The Incredible Burt Wonderstone. Not a perfect movie, many problems with it. I don't fault anybody for not liking it, but I had a kick with it. I really did. So I'm glad you did too, Jack. All right, next one. The Number Thor writes, speaking of those dice, could they be the dice that Han used to beat Lando and win the Falcon? Well, I mean, it's possible. Legend has it that Han won the game from him in a game of sabacc. But nothing in canon says that. All we know is that Han says to Lando, hey, I won her fair and square. He didn't say which game they played to win it. Now, legend says it was a game of sabacc, which is what we kind of see them playing in the Solo trailer. But theoretically speaking, it is possible that he won them on a dice roll with Lando, and that those are the dice that he used to win it, hence the emotional connection with them, hence why they're always hanging in the Millennium Falcon, hence why it would become a good memento to pass on to Leia afterwards. So I think they're going to stick with the legend of winning it in a game of sabacc, but I don't think it's a ridiculous theory that maybe he won them in a game of dice, or a simple one roll of the dice. Odds, you keep her. Evens, I take her. You know, maybe that was it. It's an interesting theory, man. All right. Next up, good old Uncle Sidious, I love that name, writes, could Ant-Man use Pym Disc to make Hulk bigger? I don't know. I guess he could. Probably a bad idea. Probably a bad idea, because if Hulk loses control, there's no stopping him. I mean, there's already no stopping him, and he's the Hulk. But I guess theoretically he could, unless they come up with some reason why they can't. That, it only works with Well, I mean, you can't say it only works with inanimate objects because he did it to an ant, right? He made an ant huge in the first movie, so I don't know. Maybe there's dangers to it and you can't do it, and Ant-Man can only do it to himself because he's done something to his suit to keep himself stable, or... I mean, I don't know. But unless they come up with some explanation why they can't, I got to go with you on this one, Sidious. I think it's what you're proposing is theoretically possible, and in the movie he could if he wanted to, unless they give some kind of alternate explanation as to why they can't. Other than, guess what? A 40-foot tall Hulk is a bad idea. Just a 40-foot tall Hulk running around in a bad mood is just a bad idea. I don't care whose side he's on. PJ Barnes writes, ever notice your theme sounds like Attitude Era WWE? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think, you know what? To be honest with you, that might be one of the things that appeals to me about my opening music. Is that it does remind me a little bit like Attitude Era WWE music. So that might be one of the reasons why I like it. Good observation. Let's see, where are we at? Trojan of Narnia writes, you said you like theology. Do you have a favorite theologian? My favorite theologian was a guy by the name of J.I. Packer. And he's not an ancient one. I used to have these, I used to collect old antique books of old theologians, like books from 1875 and things like that. But yeah, actually more contemporary, I think he wrote in the 50s and the 60s, was a guy by the name of J.I. Packer. And that's who I read the most of. Let's see. It's Mo writes, it's on HBO, The Defiant Ones. Oh, thank you for letting me know. So The Defiant Ones is on HBO. You know, I've another thing that's on HBO that I probably won't get a chance to watch it until Ann and I move at the end of the week, but I'm dying to watch that Andre the Giant documentary. I've got to watch that. There are actually 3 things now. The Defiant Ones on HBO. The other thing on HBO is the Andre the Giant. And the other documentary on HBO is a Steven Spielberg documentary. I can't believe I still haven't watched that. I still can't believe I haven't watched that. So I got to load up my HBO Now app and get watching those things. Again, probably won't happen until after I move. So Ann and I are moving on Friday. So maybe then I'll have a chance after that I can sit down and watch those. Rodney Pino writes, have you seen the trailer for the Hotel Artemis? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Oh my God, it looks great. Looks great. You got, so you got Dave Bautista's in there. You've got Sterling K. Brown from Black Panther and This Is Us. You got, hold on a second here. Let me, you've got Jeff Goldblum's in it, of course. You got Sophia Boutella's in it. You've got Jodie Foster is leading it. So the basic idea for this Hotel Artemis movie is it's a little bit like John Wick instead of the Hotel Continental. But here's what it is. Hotel Artemis is a secret underground hospital for criminals. And you've got to be a paid up member. You have to be a paid up member to get in there. And there are rules. So it's kind of like Hotel Continental in a way, but it's got a little bit of a different angle on it. It's called Hotel Artemis. And I thought the trailer looked great. One of the things I really like about the trailer is it feels lower budget. It's a lower budget film, and that kind of actually really appealed to me about it. If you haven't seen the trailer for it yet, just copy and paste what Rodney put in there. Hotel Artemis. Jump on YouTube, search for the trailer. I think you're going to enjoy it. I really got a kick out of the trailer. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Despite her feelings on comic book movies, I am a huge fan of Jodie Foster. So there we go. Number Thor writes, thoughts on the show Boardwalk Empire? It's one of my favorites. Love Boardwalk Empire. After season 2, it started to lose steam for me after season 2. It was, to me, the first 2 seasons were when Boardwalk Empire was at its best. That's when I really loved the show. And it was just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And it really showed you the type of range and the type of things an actor like Steve Buscemi can do and what he can pull off. It felt authentic. It was great mobster stuff. I just really enjoyed the show. Again, it started to fall off for me as it got towards the end. But the first few seasons, even season 3, I really quite appreciated. But the first few seasons were just outstanding. If you haven't had a chance to check out Boardwalk Empire, you really should. Okay. K Major writes, she's got a couple minutes left here, guys. My quiet place death would be watching episode 2 and hearing Anakin say, I hate sand. Now, would that be, though, would you die from moaning out loud or would you die from laughing hysterically? That's the big thing. That's the big thing is which way would you be making the sound that would get you killed? The number Thor writes, better player, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? Well, Tom Brady answered that. I mean, Tom Brady. Peyton is an all-time great. Make no mistake about it. But clearly Tom Brady. Kevin Brown writes, if Thanos is the ultimate bad guy in the MCU, where do you speculate the universe goes with stories for all the sequels, generally? Love your show. Well, I mean, here's the thing. You've got to be able to scale these things, right? We've talked about this from time to time, is that you're eventually going to get a law of diminishing returns if every subsequent film you try to make the bad guy bigger and the threats even more threatening and everything's got to be bigger and grander and grander and grander. You got to learn to scale and to mix it up. You know, it's like in MMA. Like, you can't just go in there and throw haymakers to the head. You got to work to the body. You got to throw some leg kicks. You got to change levels now and again, or else the other guy's just going to know what's coming. If all you're doing in your cinematic universe is, okay, now we need a bad guy who's even more powerful. And now it's not just the world that's at stake, it's the galaxy. If you don't stop doing that, then you're going to run out of places to go. You got to change it up. That's what the MCU has done. They've done it with their solo movies. Like, you go from one movie trying to save the world to another movie like Ant-Man, who's just trying to save his daughter, to a movie like Wakanda, or like Black Panther, who's trying to save his country. Now you go to a thing like Infinity War, trying to save the planet. Now you got to bring it back down again. You got to change it up. You got to change levels to keep it feeling fresh and interesting. The answer for the next Avengers movie is not to make, oh, now they've got to fight Galactus, or, something like that. You can't just keep going on this path of the next bad guy's got to be bigger and the next bad guy's got to be bigger. It can't be that, because that's just poor storytelling. You got to be able to change levels. So I'm hoping that once we get past Avengers 4, we're going to see Marvel do what they have done before, which is change the levels. But not just with their individual stories. They've got to be able to change levels within the Avengers films themselves. They got to show that they can change levels and still tell compelling, great, interesting stories. Because if you can tell a great, interesting, compelling story, it doesn't matter how big your bad guy is. And they cannot fall into that trap. So, and I don't think Kevin Feige will let them fall into that trap. Number Thor writes, your favorite cinema food? I love a good popcorn, hot dog, and Pepsi, but my friends like nachos and ice cream and slushies. What about you? What's your preference? Always popcorn. I don't eat much else. Unless I get to a movie theater and I'm starving because I didn't have time for dinner, maybe then I'll grab a hot dog. But that's rare. Most of the time, I just grab a popcorn and a Coke Zero. That's what I normally have when I go in there. And then load on the butter. I never have popcorn otherwise, but when I'm in a movie theater, I have popcorn. Load on the butter. Again, for those of you who have not heard my technique, you take a straw, put the straw to the bottom of the popcorn bag. Then connect the end of the straw to the butter dispenser. Then start dispensing the butter and start bringing the straw up, moving the bag around, right? And bring the straw up as you're moving the bag around so you get nice, even distribution of the buttery goodness throughout your popcorn. And you never have to worry about getting through the first layer or two of your popcorn, then having dry popcorn. All the heart-stopping, buttery goodness that you can handle. That's the way you do it. Yeah, so for me, it's clearly popcorn. Boy Chow Shang writes, is the number Thor account user someone you know personally? He has been literally contributing so much by asking questions. Super chat. No, just somebody who likes, not anybody I know, just somebody who likes asking questions. Dave Atkins writes, 8 years from the other guys, still wondering what Bush's Rock and Samuel were referring to. You know what? I feel stupid, but I can't remember. I can't remember the line. So I can't remember specifically the scenario that we're talking about here. Now I'm really wishing I could. Now I got to go back and watch that damn movie just so I can see that scene again. I remember for a long time, there was some discussion about the other guys. There was this idea going around called the other guys, which was going to be a prequel movie with just The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson as cop partners and them doing their thing, which could have been hilarious, but it never came to fruition, unfortunately. It would have been better than that. I'm not actually a big fan of the other guys. The best part of The Other Guys was when The Rock and Samuel Jackson were there. After that, the movie lost steam for me. Bill the Butcher writes, I know you love Sons of Anarchy, damn right, so you should check out Green Street Hooligans. It's one of Charlie Hunnam's first movies. Also, Elijah Wood is in it. It's great. I have seen Green Street Hooligans kind of recently, and I did enjoy it. Not on the same level of Sons of Anarchy or anything like that. And I still think Charlie Hunnam was great in it. Charlie Hunnam was great in Sons of Anarchy. I have yet to find him be great in anything since. Even stuff that he did beforehand. But I did like Green Street Hooligans. I did like the film quite a bit. Or the thing quite a bit. Shelby L. writes, a friend told me Krasinski would get Quiet Place 10 times the views. Possible. Does any movie have an actor bring in 10 times the views? No. There are definitely actors. First of all, John Krasinski is not the most popular actor in the world. Make no mistake about it. He's not. There are definitely actors. So, for instance, I believe, what did the box office end up being this weekend? Rampage ended up making what? Almost $35 million this weekend, right? Had almost any other actor been in that lead role, you're talking about a movie that would have opened to like $20 million, maybe $22 million. But even somebody like The Rock, who is probably the biggest movie star in the world right now, and probably the most bankable, he's not bringing in 10 times the audience. That doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if 10 times ever existed, but gone are the days when just putting in one actor guarantees a $100 million opening. That doesn't exist anymore. That just doesn't exist. Dwayne Johnson is the next closest guy to do something like that. Again, I don't think you put any other actor starring in Rampage, that Rampage makes $35 million opening weekend. It would have made less. But 10 times, no. And I definitely disagree with your buddy who's telling you that, Krasinski got 10 times the people because Krasinski was the lead. No, Krasinski's not. I love John Krasinski, but he is not anywhere near the most popular actor in the world. So that's just not true. That's just not true. Let's see. Leader of... Well, first of all, Ernest 1985 just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Ernest. Leader of... where do we go here? Leader of Bats writes, do you like the CW shows like Arrow and The Flash? Yeah, I do. Well, let me rephrase. I did like Arrow. I loved Arrow. I keep watching Arrow because I'm a sucker for the same reason that I keep watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm stupid. Both shows are kind of bad now. Actually, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has always been kind of bad. But Arrow used to be great. I loved that show. And I still really like the lead dude in it, Stephen Amell. I think he's a tremendously talented dude. I just think he deserves to have a better show written around him. But they've done so many stupid things there. I have loved The Flash. I'm losing some of my enthusiasm for The Flash this season, though. This season has started me lose some of my enthusiasm for Flash. I just don't like this whole DeVoe thing they're doing. They've gotten away from their core stuff. So it's losing steam for me. I'm loving Black Lightning, though. Black Lightning is great for me. And I think I'm done with Legends of Tomorrow at this point. But I keep watching. I keep watching because I keep wanting them to get better. All right, final question of the day, guys. And this one comes to us from Lawrence RBE writes, why do you think Rotten Tomatoes and audience don't seem to match up? Oh, they do. Most of the time they do. For example, Rotten Tomatoes gave Rampage 53, but the audience feedback was A-. Well, first of all, it never... Look, I could go into this whole diatribe. First of all, most of the time, the Rotten Tomatoes audience score and critic score, most of the time, they're within the same ballpark. Like, they're within 20% of each other normally. But, obviously you get some occasions where there's a greater than 20% difference. But for the most part, they're usually pretty close. But look, end of the day, there is no really reliable audience scoring system. There is no reliable audience scoring system out there. There's just not. I mean, CinemaScore is the closest thing to reliable that you have because it's the only scoring system that actually verifies somebody's seen a movie that they're rating. None of the rest of them do. You're going down, it's a pointless discussion. It's a pointless discussion, so it's really not even something you can really think about. But for the most part, it is a misconception out there that, usually the critic scores and audience scores are way off from each other. No, that's a lie. you're only thinking about the times that they are far off from each other, because those are the only times we ever talk about. For the most part, they're usually pretty close. They're usually within 20% of each other. So anyway. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Do not forget, guys, the John Campea Show talking about today's movie news is actually coming up later this afternoon. Make sure you come back a little bit later and check it out. For those of you who sent in live questions that I didn't have time to get to on the show, don't worry about it. Tomorrow morning's companion video will have all of those questions. I'm going to take the leftover questions from yesterday. I didn't do a companion video for yesterday's leftovers because there are only about 8 or 9 questions left over, not worth doing an entire companion video for. So I'm going to take those questions and the leftover ones from today, and tomorrow morning there'll be the companion video and all of your questions will be on there. So thanks a lot for joining me, guys. My name's John Campea. Come back for the John Campea Show a little bit later this afternoon. And until next time, which hand am I using? This one. Bye-bye.